that sweet sound.
Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights. Let's talk about what's been going on at Viking Ice Arena. You've never seen a league so exciting and tough and fast. It simply must be discussed on an equally exciting and tough podcast. What's it called? Monday Night Lights. Yeah. Monday Night Lights. Monday Night Lights. What's been going down on the ice? Who are the leaders? Who are the failures? The Ducks, the Tigers, the Nordiques, the Whalers, the Seals, the Americans, the North Stars. Who's gonna stall? Who will go far and earn the keg? Who's gonna earn the keg? We'll find out in time. Give us a holler on the whoop line.
And the Monday Night Lights podcast is back. Brian Piercy here with Troy Otto and Andrew Hedis. How you boys doing?
Wow. I don't know. That was another Piercy surprise. I mean, that's kind of Sam Mackey voicemail level type surprise.
Honestly, I don't know if that was you, Piercy, that fired up Fruit Loops and GarageBand, or maybe you got some of your boys and they did their best impression of Rick from Rick and Morty, and he was just kind of jamming out there. That was fantastic.
It was actually the Toilet Bowl Cleaners. You might know them for such songs as Scarlett Johansson Fart.
This is music is, unless we're talking classic rock, music is not my scene, but that was interesting. I mean, that was good. Different, a little too long for a show intro, but it was good.
We now have a theme song for the show, so
so this is a real band that that you got to put this little jingle together. Give us this. How did this happen?
So like I said, his name's Matt Farley. He has records of 20,000 songs he's created. He's been on the Tonight Show. He's got multiple CDs, multiple groups names. So he does songs, and for my fantasy football league last year, one of our guys had a song made about our league, and it was really funny and great. So decided to pay him to make us a theme song, and this is what he came up with for us.
Wow, that's pretty good. How much does it cost for a man to write a song for you?
I think it was $60.
Wow,
That's not too bad at all.
That's not bad at all for him or for you.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So I thought it'd be a nice little surprise. It kind of gets us out of that copyright stuff we have to worry about with YouTube and Twitch. So no worries there. Thought it'd be a fun thing to do.
It was definitely fun. Definitely a surprise. So we'll see what the fans think about it.
I look forward to fading that in and out every single time we do a podcast now.
It looks like Drager missed the new theme. I already have a YouTube video ready to go with just the song and a slideshow of pictures that I'll post probably tomorrow morning to help out the YouTube channel. If you just want to hear that, obviously it's going to be part of the podcast as well. We got a laughing his fucking ass off from Dave P with an Unreal. So I don't know if that was a positive or a negative there, but just real quick, as always, give us a call on the Whoop line, 714-75-WHOOP. Email the show, podcast at MNLHL.com. Follow, subscribe to us on Twitch. I don't know if you see in the chat, I was able to already put down my second month in a row. So everybody who did that at the last month or so, you're probably coming up soon for the renewal. So keep an eye on that just to get that $5 coming in.
I old man here, still waiting for that Dave P video that never came, but old man followed Piercy's instructions. I put it in my calendar, 1 month notification. Mine is Saturday. I'm going to renew, and I'm going to get that second little token. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty amped for that. I like a little second token in the collection. So
yeah, I think I got my little keg, and next month I'll earn a Seals logo and keep those going. I don't really know why I need those, but apparently they're cool to have according to the kids. Hedis, are we right there?
Yeah, I think the kids are all about the collection things nowadays. Pokemon, Twitch badges, you name it.
How many subscribers are you up to? 6 or 7, 4?
That would be a better answer. Maybe Drager. It looks like he's listening. Can put something in the chat. Let us know. As always, the podcast is available. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Twitcher. If there's any other things, give us a rating and a review. We have some actual ratings on Apple Podcasts. I'd like to see a review or two. Someone type something dumb in there why we're horrible, why we're great. I think that would be fun to have. And if you want to get involved in the podcast, send us a DM. First thing on the agenda, never fun. I'd think MNL as a whole would like to send their condolences to Ben. His father, John, passed away. We're here for you if you need anything.
Yeah, that was very sad. Amazingly fast. I remember like a month ago, 2 months max, Ben posting a picture of him golfing with his dad. It was something that they shared together, avid golfer, but everything was completely normal. And then usually in that scenario, it's like a heart attack or something. But I guess I went to the, visitation, and basically he just said he wasn't feeling well. Went to the doctor. They're like, oh, it's, I can't remember, but some like high blood, something, not a big deal. Then he was still feeling bad, and then they opened him up, and just the cancer had spread everywhere throughout his body, and then he passed away. So very sad. I went, again, very cool story. I knew he was a hockey guy. I knew he was a golfer, but I didn't know until I went to the visitation that he actually coached the Grosse Pointe South hockey team before my time. Not that I was on the team, but pretty cool. Was a varsity coach for Grosse Pointe South hockey, and then he coached the what is now CompuWare, but like a high-end AAA team. Took him to the Quebec tournament, and they won the whole thing. He had a cool little puck. Still had that puck from like 20 years ago. But anyways, very sad. I gave my dad a little extra hug, just kind of brings it all. I don't know. It's sad.
Yeah, it's never an easy thing. I believe, sounded like his dad thought our league was the coolest thing. I think he followed in Slack a little bit. So, our hearts go out to you, Ben. If you need anything again, just let us know and we're there for you. Just to let you know, looks like Panny did say that there was currently 12 subs, so that's
Nice.
not that bad. We did just get a resubscribe from Mr. Drager as well, so that's a number 2, I think, and it's for him as well. So we love the support, and yeah, we're not going to play the song again quite yet, Drager. I'm sorry, but like I said,
Little outro action maybe today.
no, I don't think it'll go for the outro either, but it'll be available for you when later on. So kind of next thing on the schedule, MNL schedule is out. If you go to MNLHL.com, you click under the stats section and go to this year. Looks like opening night, going to have that Stanley Keg rematch of the Nordiques versus the North Stars, followed by the Whalers and the Ducks and the Seals versus the Americans. So I think rightfully so, the Tigers are getting that bye as the new team, but
Got to earn your stripes, so to speak. Pun intended. Old man dad joke.
Tony the Tiger would regret hearing that.
I think that's pretty cool. Like, I'm assuming that's done because of the Stanley Keg. Kind of remind. Not a big NBA fan, but NBA. The one thing that they have done is like they kind of own Christmas Day. And they kind of put like the 3 marquee games. So I think that's a pretty cool tradition that I think that they should continue. Going forward, the 2 Stanley Keg participants playing in week 1. So we'll be excited. North Stars get a little revenge, right the wrong from last year.
Hedda seems fired up.
I don't know what to say. I mean, I wasn't on the team last year. I'm just gonna go out and give my team a chance to win every night, and we'll go from there.
And then what else you got? What's the other matchups? You got Ducks versus Whalers.
Ducks versus Whalers, Seals versus Americans. I don't think there's a whole lot to break down in the schedule yet. As we go to games, we'll start talking about those matchups as we go along, but I just kind of want to let people know that it is available at MNLHL.com. If you want to check it out, see how things are there, go ahead.
The one thing that does jump out at me is that I think from our draft breakdown podcast, the consensus, within some degree of error, was that the Whalers were a high-end team and the Ducks were a low-end team. So, again, all relative. But it'll be interesting to see if we're as smart as we think we are and the Whalers kind of come out and take care of business week 1, or if the Ducks will say, hey, we're all idiots.
Speaking of the Whalers and the Ducks, last night they were supposed to have a matchup against each other in week 1 of the preseason, but there was a little bit of mess up with the ice, the 10 o'clock slot. Last second changed to a 7. People couldn't make it on such short notice. Still looking to reschedule that ice. Do you have any more information on that, Mr. Otto?
Yeah, so that was my fault. The preseason, we don't have our time slot, so she had previously given us the 8 to 10 slot, and in any event, I thought it would be no big deal to kind of extend it an hour, sent the lady an email, and then I kind of forgot to follow up. And then the morning of, I was like, oh, shit, she never confirmed that. And I said, we all know what's going on. There's like one Zamboni guy and maybe like the girlfriend. So I'm like, is it that big of a deal for this guy to stay an extra hour? And I said, like, well, in addition to what he gets paid, I said, we'll tip him $20 or something like that. But anyways, that didn't happen. And the reason, like, they had a gap, like the previous slot like ended at 6 o'clock. So then so they tried to bump us up to 7. The Whalers looked like they could do it, but the Ducks couldn't do it. So Busta pulled the plug on the 7 p.m. And then I did have ice, just kind of unrelated, that for my son's hockey team this Sunday, I threw that out to the Whalers and Ducks. Again, Trent said, we're good. Again, Busta said, nope, we can only get 4. So the Ducks are having some low morale early. So trying to find an hour sometime next week, like kind of any evening, to kind of get that game scheduled. So don't have a firm update, but I'm on it. We'll make it happen between now and the end of August.
Some of those guys on their team, like Bauer, for example, he's really good on weekends, so it's kind of surprised to see that some of them are going to be missing, I guess, on that weekend.
Yeah, and we saw this last night. It's like you're not going to get 100% attendance during the regular season, let alone the preseason. True. But hopefully they can just scrap. If you can get 7 guys and then fill in with 3 subs, we'll make it happen.
I don't think it's going to be perfect either way. There's people who have problems making during the week. There's a lot of people with kids that have, sports or events, or they just want to spend time with their wives, so it's hard to make weekends for other people. I don't think there's ever going to be a perfect time. We'll do our best on that. But we were able to have 2 week 1 preseason games. Our first matchup was pick 1 versus pick 2. The Americans versus the Tigers. From what I was told, it ended in a 5-5 tie. Our own Mr. Andrew Hedis actually was able to skate out in that game. Why don't you start with your recap?
So my recap, before I even got there, I went out into the rink, and Andy Alk was like, hey, we're missing a guy. We need to come out and play. So the Americans had 8. The Tigers had 10. And like you just brought up, Proctor and Matt Taylor kind of were having their 1-2 feud, little Gretzky, little Lemieux action going on. And I think Proctor kind of took that to heart because of the 5 American goals, he got a hat trick, and I think Wood got the other 2. So
what?
Yeah, Woodski
Wood.
had some good things to say about Wood. So we'll save throwing the stick and stuff later. You can comment on that because I'm going to talk about myself.
It's coming.
But so I felt the difference between the first and the second game. The Americans and the Tigers game it just felt faster. I mean, I may have been because I was a part of it, but even from the bench, it just seemed like it was a little bit faster because of both Matt Taylor and Proctor kind of head manning the puck and or starting plays really quickly from the defensive zone. There wasn't as much defense, I want to say, as the second game. Some guys really stood out to me, like Wood, for example, really stood out. Skillman stood out. Ryan Allen stood out. Some of the usual suspects kind of stood out by playing really well, like in the corners or starting up really good breakouts. But the goalies, Koner filled in for Riley because I believe Riley couldn't make it.
I heard it was J-Flo. Is that not accurate?
I did see J-Flo in one of the nets.
For the Tigers?
No, J-Flo was playing for his team, the Americans. And it was J-Flo and the Americans, and Koner filled in for Riley and the Tigers.
Gotcha.
Which I don't know if that made a big difference or not, because, like I said, it was kind of a high-scoring affair. I mean, it was only like 2 periods, 2 22-minute periods. But, Gio was kind of wheeling out there for the Tigers. I feel he subbed in for somebody. And
he filled in for Slocum.
Yeah,
so,
he was a nice fit for them.
So after 1 week of preseason, I know it's a little early, but I want you to make the call. Taylor versus Proctor. If you had to redraft, how would you do it?
It's you said it's a little too early. I mean, it's literally 1 preseason game into the season. Give us that question like 2 months into the season. Right now,
it's too easy. 2 months into the season.
Proctor showed up last night, right? And he was probably a part of 4 of the 5 American goals, right? I think he assisted one of Wood's goals and got 3 goals. Matt Taylor, when he showed up on the ice, he did the same thing. He assisted 2 of the goals. One to Charles Mackey. Charles Mackey was looking great last night, but he also scored 3 goals. So it's like they're both head and head, neck and neck. I'd give it to Proctor's because he had 8 people on his team, vice 10, so he had less shifts, maybe.
I think that's fair. So would you say that Proctor, I saw half the game, I would change during the other part of it. Do you think Proctor stepped up his game with having that extra competition out on the ice?
I think you're going to see a renewed Proctor this year because even this preseason Proctor looked a little bit faster than towards the later season 2 years ago Americans or even in the championship game I watched or last year with the Deeks. He had like a little pep in his step, especially playing against Matt Taylor. I don't know if it's a competition that drives him or what, but So he had the puck a lot of times, and he would make the one extra move. I was like, whoa, I haven't seen that Proctor in a bit. The one thing I liked about Matt Taylor, not to make this a Proctor and Matt Taylor show, but when I was skating against Matt Taylor as a defenseman, I feel a low-level defenseman in this league are going to have to try every trick in the book to keep the puck off of his stick. There was multiple times yesterday where I was diving, or I went to like one knee and had to like block a pass or something, or attempt to block a pass, because I just couldn't take the puck away from him. He's got so much speed and hands. He's even... With Proctor, he'll give you respect. I told Proctor in the locker room yesterday, Proctor, he'll give you respect. He's not going to just undress you and then go right to goal and score. He'll give you a chance, and then he'll undress you and go and score. Whereas Matt Taylor, he'll just bulldoze like through you, or he'll just make you look silly, going on net and score. So it'll be kind of interesting how each team handles the Matt Taylor dynamic, because he's as good as Proctor is or better, but it's a different dynamic playing against one player vice the other.
Yeah, it was interesting. I know without seeing everything and not being on the ice, because I think it can feel different there. Dougie Fresh commented between games, he's like, I felt like Matt Taylor, anytime he wanted to turn it on, he'd score. He kind of said it was a little ridiculous how good he was for our league. So
yeah, it's gonna be like I said, it's gonna be a little tough to stop Matt Taylor. So each team's gonna have to handle him differently. Maybe like a team like I don't know, the Deke says, you know what, Pete, you are a defensive all-star. We want you to cover Matt Taylor and let our second line go do some work. And he just shadows him all game. Or maybe like a team that's really good defensively, like the Ducks, maybe they're just going to throw a lot of people behind him and play this like 1-1-3 sort of system. I don't know if Monday Night Lights is that advanced. There's different options you can do.
Newsflash, it's not. No systems in Monday Night Lights.
You can have
Desert Storm.
Desert Swarm. I got asked about that yesterday. Like, is the North Shore going to do Desert Swarm? And it's going to be like Ty, Troy, and then like Graham's going to sit back there at the blue line, and then we're just going to have like two cherry pickers when Matt Taylor's out there.
That's like the opposite of the Desert Swarm. That sounds like a cherry picking system. The Desert Swarm was swarm the puck, get it out of really, because not to break it, any trade secrets here, but basically Pete was a one-man show, so it was like swarm Pete, make him give up the puck, and then if Busta or somebody else beats us, so be it. But I'd like to comment a little bit on the game.
Sure.
I was not there, but I did have some anonymous sources. And first of all, I think my breakdown of the Tigers at the beginning of the year was like there's going to be a lot of like high-scoring games, a lot of offense. So again, one preseason game. I think that so far is accurate. Also, these huge caveat for all these preseason games. I mean, every team was either short players, multiple subs. A little disappointed we didn't get to see, I'd like to see what a Slocum looks like to see what a Matt Lapudre looks like. Didn't get to see either of them. I heard from my anonymous sources that Mr. Edge, who was the topic of a lot of draft debate on this show, did very well. I don't know if either of you care to comment on that, but I heard he looked very good. I did have one, again, very anonymous source, don't want to give it up, but goes by the name Catman, says, don't forget to mention Catman thinks Hedges should stick to playing goalie because his bitching and throwing sticks in a preseason pickup game is embarrassing. Again, I don't want to give up that source. It's anonymous.
So for the record, I guess we'll do a quick pause here. There was apparently two incidents with Hedges playing defense. One was some incident with Busta. I didn't actually see that.
That one was nonsense. The first one's fair.
The second one, watching the game, Hedges is at the blue line. The puck's coming to him. Here comes Gio Adam, picks his pocket. Hedges goes falling to the ground, spins around, and throws his stick at Gio to trip him on a breakaway.
There was no pick my pocket. There was I caught the puck in my hand. I go to play it, like, I'm going to try to play it to my feet or play it somewhere. I'm at the point by myself. I'm the last man. And Gio is, like, already on top of me, like the kid, like, in, like, dodgeball or something. Is like, right next to you. It's waiting, like, to tag you. Like, oh, as soon as you drop it, you're out. I'm like, so either I hold on to it, like, and, like, what, you get a face-off? I don't even know what they do anymore as a player. I'm a goalie. I'm not used to, like...
It could be a 2-minute penalty for delay of game if you close your hand on the puck.
Correct, but, like, I had nowhere to play it because he was literally on top of me.
Bad at me.
I mean, I had caught it. I was trying to play it to my stick, and he was literally there. He's like just like I looked like I felt like he was about to hug me, and then he knocked me down. So I thought like he had tripped me or something else because I turned my back to him to try to give me like some space to like drop the puck, and he just those Italian stallion legs, that engine, he just knocked me over.
Did he
took the puck
score on
away.
the play?
No, he tripped him after Hedges threw his stick at him.
And did we have a volunteer ref at the game?
No,
Yeah, they gave him a
was.
penalty shot.
Yeah, it was a penalty shot.
I was gonna
all
say
penalties were penalty shots. So if you throw your stick normally, it's not a penalty
No.
shot. It's a penalty.
No.
But if it's not a breakaway, it's a penalty shot.
Yeah, well, that's the ref, if it's a breakaway, which it sounds like it was, and you throw a stick, the ref does have a discretion to award a penalty shot. And here's another little fun tidbit that I didn't know this, but if the goalie's pulled and you pull something like that, the ref has a discretion to award an actual goal in that situation.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is an interesting situation that doesn't come up much.
Or if you leave your stick behind in an empty net and then someone were to shoot it down there, whether it goes in or not, or as long as it's towards that net, they count as a goal.
They can award the goal.
So Hedis, I know you've only been a North Star for 3 weeks, but has Troy already gotten your head so much that you are throwing sticks at players with that mentality?
I felt that I don't know. I felt like Gio tripped me, but after the play, a couple of people were like, no, he didn't. He just kind of like knocked you down. And I mean, my back was to the puck. I just felt like my knees buckled. So I'm not good at my skates. He should have known he's like going after like an 8th, 9th round bender. So like
picking on the bender.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So situation happened really fast. So I mean, threw a stick, whatever.
I was always taught growing up, if you can't win, cheat. If you can't cheat, quit. So I mean, obviously, I told the this to Hedis, and he's just working on his skills
during those North Star secret practices, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just teasing.
Yeah, of course.
Any other final thoughts on this game?
I guess I would like your comments on if you watched it. Did Edge live up to the billing? Any other standouts? What about the other new guys? Wood, obviously, looked pretty good.
Wood,
Simonelli, I think, showed up.
Simonelli, yeah, he played for the Americans. So that's actually probably good that you're moving on to some of the new guys because I didn't really touch on them. Simonelli, I felt played when he wants to skate, when he has like the wheels and he's not tired. I mean, we had 8 guys yesterday, so
sure.
Later in the shifts, all of us were dead. But I feel like when they had 10 guys rolling, and he's on that second line, he is really well controlling the puck. Like there's times you chip it up to him, and he just possess it at the top of your blue line and wait for the Proctor, or wait for Antioch or Wood to go up that far side, and it makes a breakout really easy.
Yeah,
so
he's a big man. Like he's not. We've talked about this before. He's a big dude. His skating technique is nice. He's not like a bender. It's all about just what he's got in the gas tank and jump level, I guess.
Who's the defenseman for the Americans as Gray Sox? That was Edge.
I think that was Edge. It was
he was fantastic back there. Honestly, he kind of shored up myself. It was like me, Suokis, and him. Anytime he's on the ice, he kind of like shored up like me and Suokis.
That was the Edge man.
Yeah, he was good. He's worth his pick.
That was the one thing. There was a couple guys that had like all black jerseys that you couldn't identify him on, and it was hard to say like that was him. It was like, oh, I think that's Edge because I know he's a skilled defenseman there. Wood's kind of crazy, so you can just see who he is. He looked pretty good out there. He's got his little burst of energy that goes off. He kind of falls and stumbles a little bit, but he'll score a goal here or there and has a decent shot.
He worked really well with Proctor. His big thing was I don't think he's as adverse to getting the puck or stick handling out of a corner or on the board play, but when he's in open ice and someone hits him in the pass, he has enough speed and enough like hockey sense that he'll get to open space and shoot. He beat Koner twice yesterday, both off the crossbar too. I was like, where'd that come from? Roseville?
If you play with Proctor, it's like, and you're halfway, decent, you're gonna score some goals this year. What about a quick story that I didn't even know until today, but with Sips and his 14-day fast, taking in 100 calories in 14 days. How did he look out there, our favorite Weeble Wobbles?
He was weebling. He was wobbling. I mean, I think Piercy could touch on this a little bit
He actually
more.
said, he said, I don't know if it was like safe for me to play. And I thought it's like a guy out here who hasn't eaten in 2 weeks. It probably isn't very smart to go and play any type of physical activity after not eating for 2 weeks.
Yeah, as someone who tries,
I'm hoping he's exaggerating a little.
yeah.
As someone who tries to stay rather healthy, my personal opinion, I'm not a doctor here, is that's probably not that good for you. I know there's a couple day fast and things of that realm, but 300 calories a day is not good for you. So
no, that was 300 calories in 2 weeks was my interpretation.
I thought he said he had like 2 cups of soup a day or something. That was about 100 to 200 calories per one.
I don't think it was per day. I thought that was for the 14-day period, but could be wrong.
Okay, that's even worse then. Yes,
that's how I read his email. That's how I read it. I could be wrong.
He's playing on a short bench. He doesn't even care.
But well, that's Sips, baby.
Yeah,
I love him.
I mean, he's got a broken foot, a broken ankle. Apparently, he's trying to get lighter to maybe lessen the load on that foot. I don't know. I mean,
no, he wanted to test. This wasn't about weight loss. He wanted to test his willpower, and this was a mental health experiment. So there you go. That's Sips.
Okay, so let's move on to the other game of the night. It was the Nordiques versus the Seals. Ended up with a 2-2 tie. It's hard to tell. I mean, you're saying that you felt the first game was faster.
I felt the first game was a little bit faster than the second game. The second game, it seemed kind of like two boxers kind of feeling each other out, where they would there's a lot of not as many open quick breakouts, and then there was a lot of plays that would break down, and then a chance would happen. So, for example, I remember one chance yesterday where Shawnee came down with the wing, took a shot, and one of the defensemen kind of went to whack the puck, and it deflected off of somebody, and then Pete just picked it up, went in on a breakaway, and Dylan made a really nice save. So there's a lot of that. I felt a lot of the chances yesterday came from people waiting to strike into the neutral zone. They pick up the puck and they turn it over for a quick turnover, or it wasn't a lot of they break out from behind their net. They set up, they stop behind their net, they hit the guy. It's the simple 1-2 breakout.
Yeah, it's hard for me to tell which game was faster, but I can say that I did feel the pace of play was faster than a last year Monday Night Lights game. So I think that's a good sign of just what the season's going to be. The Nordiques were missing a few guys. I think. I don't know. I know Weaver subbed as a forward, and then they were missing Brennan and Drager. That me and Maff filled in there.
Yeah, I did I did my research even though I wasn't there, so I did my homework. But so it was, Panny and Brennan were out, and they were replaced by Piercy and Maff, and then Wright and Drago were out, and they were replaced by Catman and Weaver. Mm-hmm. So overall, those seemed like fair subs. Weaver over Drago is probably a slight sub up, but then obviously Catman for Wright's a sub down. So it's probably pretty representative of what they're going to look like.
Yeah, and I think for the other side, McCracken was out, and then Rattler was out, and then Turtle Tim played, but he played defense, so that's going to be interesting just for how their team will measure up. It's hard to get a feel there. And then Graham subbed in for McCracken, which we think is pretty fair based on all of last year.
Sure.
So, but I don't know. Going through there, I did not feel the Seals. They weren't horrible, but I didn't feel like they were threatening most of the game. So that's an interesting thought there.
Coming out of the draft, from looking at the Seals, again, we still have the McCracken X factor, but I think from looking at that lineup, was like, who are the defensemen going to be? Because Whoop had this Pellet, penciled in as a defenseman, and I think he wasn't a defenseman, but the Whoop optimism, soaring after the game because this Pellet all of a sudden is an All-American. But I think the new, he posted the new lineup like he did after the draft. So his new lineup has Pellet up at forward with Shawnee and Pfister, and then he's doing the Allen Z defenseman experiment now. So I think that's on a go-forward basis for the Seals. I
was about to bring that up. Is two things they tried out yesterday. They threw Allen Z back on defense, and they paired him with Whoop, and they also paired Whoop with McShannock. And in both situations, I felt whoever was paired with Whoop did a decent job. I mean, they covered down. There wasn't really a lot of leaks. Any chances that came that that they had was all came from broken plays that picked up through in the neutral zone, and then the Nordiques moved it to somebody, and then they would establish zone presence. It wasn't like, oh, we're gonna set this 1-2 easy triangle pass and then have somebody streaking and hit Proctor on a breakaway sort of play.
Yeah, Whoop actually told me that, and again, I patted myself on the back here, but after they did the adjustment, they put Allen Z with Leroy and then him with McShannock, and it's kind of the perfect partner. He's like, I just stood in front of the net, and McShannock chased the puck, and it was perfect. So according to Whoop, everything's perfect. Then I walk in here, and I talk with Piercy, and I'm like, what'd you think, Piercy? He's like, oh, Whoop was horrible. So
I thought Whoop looked horrible last night. He was responsible probably for about 5 breakaways by himself. Dylan played them all well, to be fair to them, but they were still bad plays by Whoop. I think if you came out with the Piercy power rankings right now of players, Whoop is now at my 68th player in the league for skaters. I think he's got a lot to live up to as of right now as far as that comeback's concerned. He was feeling dangerous, all right, dangerous for his team's success.
Yeah. Real quick, I heard from multiple people, and Hedis was actually critical at draft time, but I heard from multiple people that Dylan looked pretty good. So what do you think about that?
Yeah. So again, we're only one game in the preseason, and I don't want to, we don't want to get too high or too low on anybody. But Dylan definitely I think has a chip on his shoulder. Now whether it's a barbecue chip or salt and pepper, I definitely think it's maybe more salt and vinegar this time around because he turned up last night, made 2 or 3 outstanding saves. He made 2 breakaway saves on Pete. I mean, good. I mean, No, that's not gonna have ourselves. It's Pete, right? I mean, he's
Yeah.
gonna shoot a 5-hole, and
Yeah.
and Dylan's gonna make that
Limited
save, but
breakaway creativity for Pistol Pete.
yeah, but here's one save he made that you're like, whoa. Yeah, he always quotes himself as saying, you know what? I feel like if I'm a mouse in a big space, like I don't do well, but a mouse in a small space, I'm really fast.
Yeah.
And there was one play yesterday, it was a 2-on-0, where I think Kimmel dished it over to Fem back door and to glove side. He slid over, made a nice butterfly slide, and caught it and gloved. Everyone in the stands went, whoa, like that's what he's capable of. Like he made some really nice saves last night. Without him playing as well as he did, I don't think the Seals really got a tie out of that. I think the Nordiques carried most of the play last night, with scoring chance-wise. So, I mean, if the play is 50-50, possession of the puck back and forth, I felt they had more quality scoring chances than the Seals did, but...
Yeah. I'd also be interested in the takes on, for me, and I tried to get out to the game, it just wasn't. My wife was at Sean Mendez, Hank Mendez, as Panny calls him, so I couldn't get there even though I really wanted to. But very curious to get your thoughts on Pfister, and then also... this Pellet, is like Whoop just on cocaine, or did he get a steal there? So Pfister and Pellet, what do you think?
I was going to bring my 4 favorite players of that game last night, and I mean, you could probably throw in a couple years because you played in the game itself, but the guys that stood out to me were Dylan last night for the Seals, Pellet for the Seals. For the Deeks, the Fem stood out to me. I mean, he normally stands out because he's very quick in his play, and then Koner, actually, it was kind of weird because his first game he played, don't get me wrong, like 5 goals against you, and you're playing against Proctor. You're not at fault for much of them, especially the breakaways, hard shots. But he went from kind of like okay in the first game to like, oh, so here we go. Here's brick wall Koner. I don't know, I think it's a rust sort of thing, but I felt Koner kind of stood on his head a little bit too.
He's throwing me off here because you just 20 seconds ago you said like the Nordiques dominated the game.
They did, but it's one of those situations where the Red Wings get like 50 shots on Jean-Sebastian Jaguar, and then they get 20 shots from the Ducks. But those 20 shots are like
grade A.
Yeah, they're great scoring chances, but 5 great scoring chances versus 20 great scoring chances, the Deeks still had more.
What about your boy Pfister?
Pfister, I felt he actually didn't play that great last night. Yeah. That's just me personally. I've seen him drive to the net, score a couple goals. The line of the Pfister, Shawnee, and Pellet line controlled play when they were out there against the Deeks second line, and they really kind of ran the puck around the zone. But scoring chances wise, there's a couple times where Pfister got kind of a little too cute, or Shawnee maybe went to pass to like Pellet or Pfister, and it wasn't on the dot. Yeah. That might be sorted out.
Yeah, chemistry.
Yeah, a few things on my side. Pfister. All right, let's start with Pellet first. Whoops, I got the steal of the draft. He was an 8th round pick. One of the things is
was he an 8th or was he a 9th?
He was an 8th according to people.
So he's not that.
But yeah, I mean, like when you're looking at it,
Neville's
like compared to an Eats or something, I can't say you're clear and above like guys in that range. He seemed to be like that mid-level, possibly a little bit better than mid-level Bender guy, which is a good pick at 8th, but that could be more of the standard now as well.
That totally changes my opinion because I thought that they got Pellet at 9 in the 9th round and then Neville in the 10th, and that Pellet in the 9th seems like a steal. But I forgot Whoop was the 9th, so they got him in the 8th.
Still.
I'm not saying it's not good value. But I was like, holy cow, like steal value. And it's probably, To
me, he's out there playing like Allen Z or Wood, or even he's, if you compare him to Bauer, Whoop said earlier, he's a better player than Bauer. He has more wheels than Bauer does. Yeah. And he has the same hockey sense. So, to me, he could be a round or 2 steal, right? I mean, Bauer was drafted 40th in the draft, and Pellet was drafted 52. So that's like a 10-place difference, maybe. So I mean, that's
about a
kind
round
of fair.
and a half.
Yeah, I don't quite see him better than Bauer as of yet. It's still early. Let's give him a few more times. I think with Pfister, I don't think he played as good as he on the one skate. He kind of came in for the tryout type skate, but he still looked good. I feel like the way he played yesterday was fair for his draft position. Now, I know Hedges keeps saying he's better than that, and maybe he'll show that he's a steal there. But last night, I thought he played solid, good player. Probably in that second round range was what he did yesterday. So I think that's good there.
Yeah, I guess the Seals, the players that they could have taken there, like if they would have went with the warm and fuzzy like 8 years in a row, they would have taken Chris Taylor there. So I guess in a redraft, and again, it's one preseason game, but first impression. Chris Taylor, you put Hedis on the spot with the Proctor, Matt Taylor. You're drafting there today for the Seals. Your choices are Chris Taylor or Pfister. Who are you taking?
I probably like the Pfister pick as of right now. I'm just more saying that as of today, and I mean, I've seen Suits skate once. Like, if it was like that thing where I think Hedis was kind of saying, like, he should be above Suits. I'm not seeing it as of yet, but then again, I've only seen Suits skate once, so that's kind of a mystery as well. I'm just not saying I'm not ready to jump him up to 4. I'm still on the record that I would have took Pete there, but that's just me. A couple other things. The Deeks actually, the way they fit together was a lot better than I actually thought. I think I said on the podcast during the draft analysis, I didn't like how their team fit at all. The Pete Kimmel lineup seemed to fit pretty well, and then throwing in Gio and Fem also seemed very solid. Weaver came in. I thought Weaver was actually a highlight last night. I thought he played really well. Whaler, that's great for us. I thought he felt like he was kind of a sub up in that position, which helps, but it's preseason, so it's not a big deal. But I liked how he played as well. Suwokis, I thought he had a rough game in that second game, but he also played in the first game as well. So that could have hurt him there, but I thought he was a big reason for the 2 goals that was given up by the Deeks, and I thought we controlled them as far as quality scoring chances. I thought was low on their side of things, and the majority of them were when Adam and Maff were on the ice.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Sukas struggling now that he's not a North Star is going to be a storyline to track all year.
Oh my God,
that was sarcasm there, but yeah. Anyway, I talked to a couple other anonymous sources on that game. And they thought the Nordiques were pretty good, and I think the consensus was that Nordiques from the people that I talked to that the Nordiques were the better team, and Dylan kept them in it. And that's interesting because all we talk about is how the Seals had these good draft picks with Pellet, and then Pfister to a degree, and again, it's one night, but we'll see. It should be interesting.
But I mean, that was that's the difference between like team makeup. So the Seals had kind of one of almost a star line, right? They had Pfister, they had Shawnee, they had Pellet playing together, and then the Deeks they had two separate good lines and plug and play on the right wing. So I mean, it's either you're dealing with Kimmel and Pete, and then they're trying to shut down the first line, or Kimmel and Pete are going rampant on the Seals second line, and Graham was filling in with. Who was it? They moved up to forward and LZ.
I think they're playing Neville as grindline center.
Yeah,
going back to trying to recreate. Was that first year Seals where Neville was grindline center?
He played a decent amount of center there. We had to rotate sometimes through, almost like what was it? Pecora. He had to be not in the rotation, and the rest of us would kind of rotate around to be fair. So we were good about that. But yeah,
that talks about the quality of the league, though. It's like Neville having Neville as a second line center first year MNL you can get away with. That's going to be that's a tall ask out of Neville to be second line center this year, given some of the players that we're going to see on the second line.
I saw him carry the puck a couple times in the zone. I mean, he didn't do bad when the puck was on his stick. I know sometimes in spring he'd have the puck on his stick, and sitting back from the crease, I'm just screaming at myself in my head, go get the puck, because he would slow up. And his stick handling ability is kind of like mine out there. I mean, he's not going to go around anybody, and it's kind of like just attack and put pressure on him. In yesterday's game, he'd have the puck, he'd skate into the zone, and he'd make the right play. Either dump it in, or he made a quick pass to somebody else. He didn't wait to have the defense or have the forward back check him.
I'm a Colin Neville fan. I'm just saying that, talk about putting guys in a position to succeed, that's a tall, asking Neville to go on against the second line matched up against Andy Fem. I don't give a shit how good Neville is. It's I love Neville, you like Neville, but you've
been better served on the wing.
That's a tall order.
Yeah, let's see how he handles a Dave Pierre or Serta. That's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Other thing, you were talking about the Seals almost
he
in
was
that.
their 10th round pick.
Yeah.
So they're putting their 10th round
pick.
Here you go, 10th round pick, second line center. Go get them. Shut them down. We'll see.
But the Seals, Starline, yeah, they're good, but I did not feel like you expect a star line to have a certain amount of pressure and kind of put a little bit of fear in you. I did not feel that from that star line yesterday.
There was one or two chances they had where I was like, whoa, Cone there's a Cone I'm used to seeing where Cone had to cut off an angle and stop 2 shots, stop a rebound. But I did I did have a little bit of deja vu with the Seals, like you just mentioned. And I mean, even Proctor said it in the box, and Antioch said we were sitting there around 4 or 5 minute spin in the first. It felt like it was kind of deja vu Seals again, where they couldn't grind out a goal, they couldn't score, which is kind of funny because there's actually a phantom goal happened with about 5 minutes left in the game that supposedly Cone had pulled out of the net, but Rubel didn't see it. So, but the seal said it was in, and Nordique said it wasn't in, and then the unbiased third party MAF said that quite possibly was in the net. So, I mean, it could have been 3-2. So, theoretically, they may have scored 3 goals, vice the Deeks 2. But that still being said, I mean, compared to the first game, both those teams didn't really put up a lot of goals, and I don't know if that was. I mean, it was goaltending prowess, but at the same time, I don't know if those teams going into the season are designed that way, where they can keep up with a 5-6 goal game pace, kind of like the Tigers and the Americans would throw out.
I did go back through Slack just to see, Excited Whoop's roster, and that's an easy fix, actually. Neville could slide out to wing. His current that he's all Whoop excited about is Pellet, Shawnee, and Pfister on line 1 with Allen Z and Leroy on defense, and then it's McCracken, Neville, and he has Rattler out on right wing, so he could easily put Rattler to center, and that's it. Then so that's interesting. And then within that, scrolling for that lineup, I couldn't help but reread the Sips thing, and it's a little ambiguous. He says I'm on a 14 days 0 calorie intake outside of 2 bowls of soup, and he doesn't say if that's per day or per 14-day period. So Sips is going to have to clarify.
Cue the alien memes from it.
Oh, yeah. So it sounds like next week, I think we are off on the preseason. So 2 weeks, we'll be back at it. Who knows? Maybe we'll get iced next week for that last other makeup game.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I emailed Hazel Park. I hope to get a response tomorrow. It is my goal to get the Whalers and the Ducks on the ice sometime next week. And then, hopefully the boys will have some flexibility and make it happen.
So real quick before we get out of here, early Rookie of the Year for Slack.
Yeah, I mean, are there many candidates outside? I know Gangster Wood has at least participated some, and you can just tell us Wood is a character. It's like he's still like new and feeling things out, and you can see that he's a character. So the more and more comfortable he gets, I mean, I think that he's got high potential. I'm trying to think of any other rookies that have really participated. Are there any other candidates out there?
Been one or two posts maybe from Dylan, one post from Suits maybe here or there. They're few and far beyond. My thing is there kind of a sad sack on Slack as of right now? We need them to pick it up.
Yeah, well, I mean, Slack has been kind of dead, though. I mean, we hit that dead period of like off-season, right? Off-season hockey, off-season other sports, soccer, whatever else. Same thing with Slack. There's going to be an off-season up and down. So I imagine the next couple months it'll pick up. People start talking. The boys will be involved. I do want to comment, though, that Woods and Dylan, if there's an award for, like, loudest person in the room, those two, like, it's like a barbershop poll. One talks, and then the other one talks a little bit louder, and then the next one talks. Me, Pandy, and Cam were on one side of the bar table yesterday, post-game, meeting up at the good old Shams, and we're sitting there, and to our left, they're talking, and we just kind of had it was 2 separate conversations, but they were a chair away, and it felt like they were like a room away. You can hear them like they're so loud. One was to talk, one would go over there, and it was very excited. And it was great. I loved it because
it's kind of how I feel on here sometimes.
Yeah,
there you go.
Fair enough.
I do think it's hard for new guys to come into a situation you don't really know anybody, then to like start spouting off on Slack. Once we start playing games, they'll start using the I'm sure I'm guessing the new guys are active in the private channels with their teams a little bit, to the extent that that's happening. So I think once there's some games being played, they get to know some people. I think they'll come out of their shell. Dylan is a guy, we brought him out to sub for a WBW, and a playoff game got us a W. He was all like kind of quiet, woe is me. Oh, gee golly, it would be great if I could be in your league, guys. And then on draft day, a little alcohol induced, but he's all of a sudden, I'm going to fuck you guys up. We're going to win the fucking keg. So anyways.
Yeah, and
you better get ready for daily posts of junior pictures. He's like, every time we play the North Stars, he's like, I'm going to post a new picture of me being the juniors.
He definitely listens to the podcast because
100%.
I had that, and I knew that, but I kind of, I kind of called out his ECHL career, saying like I Googled Dylan. I made sure I had it spelled properly. Googled his hockey DB. Don't find anything, and he's like, Google this motherfucker, and then he did not. For the record, that was not an ECHL jersey he posted. It was like some Michigan junior tier 3 showcase, So I'm not saying the guy didn't play hockey. You can tell that he did, but I still think there's slight embellishment on the resume.
I wonder if Dylan's DG734 on Twitch, who just did some laughing emojis there. Also, to be fair to the guys, Slack slack's a little light, but I did see some guys afterwards sticking around. I think Pellet was hanging out for some beers. There was Dylan. Woods was out there being his crazy self. I mean, Pfister, I think he brought his family again in for the crowd. We're going to have to start charging for tickets soon.
That's what I forgot to bring up. Is yesterday we set our new preseason Monday Night Lights record. 4 fans in the stands.
Ooh.
Yeah. Played a little Pokemon song. I think his son was dancing. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I did ask if they were interested in buying season tickets. I think Panny said we would pay them $1 to show up to every game. So you never know. Let's see. Anything else we have at the moment?
I did want to ask when you guys were what episode? I mean, can you give me this episode? You guys want to touch on the jerseys and the jersey colors for Monday Night Lights?
I would love to do one where we actually have some kind of picture to display them with. I don't know what the availability of that would be. That kind of brings us to the schedule coming up. Like we said, next week, I believe we do not have any preseason games, but we have talked about, I have about 50 prop bets that we're going to have a show go around and predict them, keep pace of this, and then maybe even every week predict every game as kind of a long contest to see who would get the most points there. And there was even talk of throwing it out to the league, so if we get it done next week and throw it out and give them 2 or 3 weeks to return those as kind of a league contest, maybe try to come up with some kind of prize as well.
If you recall, OFP, I think Hedis was in the league when he did it. 2 years ago, OFP sponsored the, on the announcement page, kind of the prediction, and that was I liked that, and I think I can't remember who won that. I think I gave it to Sugar. Yeah,
he beat me by like a game.
Yeah, and OFP gave him some tickets to a Red Wings game, and I'd be happy to do something similar. What that came down to is that was a big kind of pain in the ass to track. I'd have to like screenshot the emojis like before the game and then track. And no offense, but it's like on that Tuesday I was already doing kind of my power rankings, and then it's like trying to work and then tracking that. So I don't mind donating a prize. If someone else wants to volunteer,
I could handle
tracking,
running it. I'd probably do it more in an email form. So it's like as long as the email's in before the game starts, we're good, and that'd be a tracking record, and I can just put it in a spreadsheet, and it would be a little bit easier. But yeah, I think after we do our prop bets, then we'll have a contest out there for other people to be involved. Just kind of a fun thing to have standings throughout the whole season, and then the prop bets that would be coming through for the end of the year awards and those type of things would kind of be that tiebreaker. So even if you're far behind on some of the pick'em games, you'd still be in it because there'd be so many awards and prop bets that you are not going to be decided till the end.
Yeah, I think that's good. And again, for the standings, we have to do the old Pete Rose, like you're not allowed to bet on your own game. We don't want anyone, throwing the game for the prize. But I think the rule is like you had to predict your own team to win.
If someone's that much of a douche to predict against themselves, I'm going to allow it. But they might be called out for it.
I've always wanted to do a goalie fantasy league with Monday Night Lights, and we all have to draft fantasy players like it's fantasy hockey.
Yeah, I mean that the interesting part, the fantasy hockey concept is cool in theory. The reality is like we already have the pesos and the Petes after every goal. Like that was me, second assist. So if there was like some we would need an independent scorekeeper / video all the games to determine like true statistics and shot on goal tracking and but who knows, but fantasy MNL would be awesome.
Last thing I have on the docket would be quick congratulations for this coming weekend to Mr. Darren Cunningham. He has his wedding coming up, so that'll be a good time. I'll be at the wedding, so I think you got him a wedding present already from what I've heard, Troy.
I did. A man of my word. I said if Darren Cunningham ends up on the North Stars, he will have a composite stick. So
wow.
I made good on that. Again, with his wedding, I mean, I think it's just, any North Star gets married, I'm going to get him a wedding gift. So I actually got him. Now, they are off the clearance rack, but I didn't want to have the situation where he breaks a stick and then he's back to the wood. So I went clearance rack, 2 true hockey sticks. So 2 composite sticks for Mr. Cunningham, and I'm expecting big things.
That's powerful. I mean, hopefully he appreciates his GM's kind generosity. We'll see if those true sticks will net up some goals this season, though.
I told him to shoot. I expect him to shoot the puck, man.
I've heard from Suokas, a couple of people, that they hate the true brand, so maybe that's the reason why they're on the clearance rack.
Yeah,
Hey, free hockey sticks are. You can
yeah,
buy
you
me
can't
as many
complain
true
about
hockey
that,
sticks as you
yeah.
want.
and that's kind. I mean, I don't know if the True's a great stick, but there's no scenario where they are worse than a wood hockey stick. So
Fair cop.
we'll see how it goes.
So that's all I have for now.
We do have. Speaking of, we had this discussion offline because you're at the wedding. We do have Monday Night Lights drop-in skate on Sunday at 4:30 p.m. at Hazel Park. We have 2 goalies, and there's currently room for 8 more skaters. So it's a good time. 4:30. I mean, you can party Saturday night and get a nice little workout in on Sunday afternoon.
So apparently, true hockey sticks turned Dave P into a goal scorer, according to him. So they're probably rubbish.
Oh, Dave P. endorsed. How about that?
Dave P. endorsed. Wow, yeah, you're not getting anything better than that.
So I think because of the surprise, normally I wouldn't do this, but I think we're gonna, the theme song going in. I think we're gonna go out to that as well, if that's okay with everybody else.
Did I call that 2-1 odds? Pay me out, Brendan. Pay me out.
There we go. I'm fine with it. Are we going to talk about favorite hockey movie? We're going to save that for next week.
I'll say that with the
You
jerseys.
I think we're probably at like 45 minutes or so.
Nice
I think it's
short
a good time. Let's keep some of those subjects in our back pocket in case we're short other weeks. So
Hit the tune.
just one more time, remember, call the Whoop line, 714-75-WHOOP. Email us at podcast@MNLHL. But besides that, I think we are out of here.
Turn the radio up for that sweet sound.
Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights, Monday Night Lights. Let's talk about what's been going on at Viking Ice Arena. You've never seen a league so exciting and tough and fast. It simply must be discussed on an equally exciting and tough podcast. What's it called? Monday Night Lights. Yeah. Monday Night Lights. Monday Night Lights. What's been going down on the ice? Who are the leaders? Who are the failures? The Ducks, the Tigers, the Nordiques, the Whalers, the Seals, the Americans, the North Stars. Who's gonna stall? Who will go far and earn the keg? Who's gonna earn the keg? We'll find out in time. Give us a holler on the Whoop